Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by the Recovery Room. Back here with you on a very chilly, slightly snowy Monday morning in Western Wisconsin. I'm Dave. This is Matt, the owner of the Recovery Room.
Top of the morning that day.
Top of the morning to you guys and gals. It's St. Patrick's Day week. Now, Matthew, St. Patrick's Day, did you go downtown to the 0.1K run this weekend?
That'd be a feck no.
A feck no. Well, listen, if you did, hope you had a good time and stayed safe. You know, Maddie, I didn't go anywhere near downtown La Crosse this weekend because we celebrate St. Patty's Day like a weekend before.
It's an entire week, my man.
It's an entire
week. I've been
week.
Irish on you and Jamaican at the same time. I can't do it.
Irish, Jamaican, Scandinavian. Sometimes I weave my way. But listen, we have a great time in downtown La Crosse. I didn't go like I've mentioned, but I was curious. Did you hear any negative reports? Because I didn't. It sounds like everybody was really well behaved and the town seemed to put on a great party, as it always does. Parade was cool from what I heard, and everybody stayed safe.
It's the third year since, obviously, COVID shut down the world and the city of La Crosse on St. Patty's Day. So
good call.
Everybody got out and seemed to enjoy the parade, and I didn't see a lot of arrests or anything in the blotter, the police blotter over the weekend, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah, well, Jeremy P12 Foreman still non-incarcerated, which is always a surprise for us and always a good thing to see. Checking in this morning from Foreman's Funhouse says, morning, you silly bastards. Well, top of the morning to you, Jeremy P12 Foreman. Listen, Matt, we have got a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff to cover here this morning on the program. If you want to join the program and jump in with comments, Facebook group page, Facebook profile, YouTube, and Twitch are the places in which you can participate. Our LinkedIn profile and Twitter doesn't allow us to see your comments coming through. So if you do want to join the program, that's the best ways to do so. Green and Gold Insider, Joe Daguanno, jumps aboard the Sports Carney Carousel at 8:30. We'll talk to Joe about all the latest, which there isn't really a lot of latest news, but we'll get his take on the latest with respect to Aaron Rodgers. We've got some really interesting comments from Mark Murphy we'll be talking about this morning as well. So we'll be digging into that. And we've got one of two poll questions for audience members, Matt, on our Facebook group page asking about Aaron Rodgers and what, if you're a Packer fan, in a perfect world, you would like to see happen with Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. So we've got that part of it going on already.
If we were playing the game that we almost thought we were going to play,
we're going to play this.
You'd already be 2 gummies deep, my friend, just so you know, so we better keep track of that. Yep.
Let's
just
see
give you some
things.
Stacks Family Farm. And I got to throw this out for Foreman. I'm curious because you have a lot of stuff out there, Foreman. What are the chances you have a Notre Dame Fighting Irish mascot outfit you might be able to pull off this weekend? Just throwing it out there. He's got the hair color.
That's a really good question. You know, our greatest costumer is Kyle Wood, Morning Wood.
Oh, that's true.
Who did pop up this weekend over at the Recov. Matter of fact, Saturday saw Kyle. He was watching the Aquinas girls state basketball game. That was a tough game there for the Aquinas girls.
Lasonia, I think, was runner-ups 2 of the last 3 years. So They played Aquinas twice the last 3 years. So it was great for them to finally win one, but sad to see Aquinas not pull it off.
Well, listen, Aquinas, great program. Both the boys and girls basketball, football team is just fantastic. So anyways, saw Morning Wood. He is one of our greatest costumers. So maybe between Foreman and Morning Wood, there is a Notre Dame Fighting Irish costume. But back to this. So I'm wearing my Stacks hat this morning, which, by the way, Johnny Wad, top of the morning. We've got these Stacks gummies. We had come up with this little game that we were going to play. Every time we mention Aaron Rodgers.
That's 3.
Okay.
For you.
You said one of us. You didn't say
No. Every time which one of us mentions that name. So I'm doing my best not to say that name because I have a busy day today too, and I'm sure you do. I'm sure I could make it. I'd be just fine. I love those things like candy.
So every time I mention who?
That name. That quarterback from Green Bay that hasn't been traded yet.
All right. So every time I mention Aaron Rodgers' name.
I'll take one with you. There's Matt, 4. I'll go with you. Let's get this party started.
Okay. Every time one of us mentions that guy's name, we have to take a Stacks Family Farm gummy. Now,
this could be fun.
This could be fun. And if we've got our Green and Gold Insider, Joe Daguanno, already watching us this morning, Joe, I'll go ahead and bookmark you a bag of these things from Stacks Family Farms, and we'll make sure that we get yours because you'll be saying that particular name of that particular quarterback.
Well, and the blue raspberry is my favorite. So that's the one I went with.
Oh, these are delicious.
So that's all right for you, buddy.
Oh, these are delicious.
Awesome.
I love these things. Again, Stacks Family Farms, Wisconsin-based hemp and THC products. Very tasty.
Good way to start a Monday.
I think it's great. So you know what we could rename this if we wanted to?
I'm all ears.
The Wake and Bake Morning Show.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, if we end up going to 2 hours, we might have to end up starting with like an hour show and then the second. So yeah, it's a good idea.
That's a good point. I'm not going to put up one of Jeremy P12 Foreman's comments because he was talking about somebody that I know has a Notre Dame Fighting Irish outfit, which I'm not throwing anybody under the bus that hard. P1 Preacher's up and at it and says Dave's going to be more jacked up than a checkbook, LOL.
Well, or he's going to fall asleep, one of the two.
Yeah. I've got my Don Francisco's and some other various rocket fuel hanging around, so I'm sure I'll be fine for today. All right, so back to the whole program at hand. We've got Rogers. We've got Mark Murphy comments. I didn't say the full name, so I'm going to back off just for a second.
No, you're perfect. You're perfect. Just not the full name, and we're good to go.
Okay, see?
We'll do that caveat. How's that?
That's good. I like that. So if we say last name, we avoid it.
Or first name, just not the full name.
Okay, fair enough.
I like that.
Otherwise, so we're working out these contest details in real time.
As we go.
Rogers, Mark Murphy comments in the situation at hand, which very well may break this morning while we're on air. That's a realistic possibility. Legal tampering period in the National Football League begins at 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock Eastern Time. So again, we could see something happening within the next hour ostensibly. We've also got the Wisconsin Badgers. The end of the Big Ten tournament, which saw Purdue beat Penn State. Penn State, a 10 seed, came really close to beating Purdue. 67-65 final score. Purdue wins the Big Ten tournament, gets a number 1 seed. The Badgers didn't make the tournament, so I'm already out $10 to Matty Ice. Yep. And Matty Ice was all over me this weekend, talking about the fact I owed him the money. Matty, come over to the Recov tonight, play some bingo with us, and I'll hook you up with your 10 spot, okay? By the way, bingo 7 to about 9-ish at the Recov tonight. But the Wisconsin Badgers did something I didn't anticipate them doing. They accepted an invitation to the NIT tournament.
I agree with you as well, my friend.
So we'll talk about that. Their next game coming up on Wednesday versus Bradley. We, of course, do have to talk about the whole bracket in general. We have a bracket, a printable bracket right here. And if you're watching us on one of our platforms, you can see this. If you're listening afterwards, just follow along. Very easy. We have a printable bracket that will be available for you to pick up at the recovery room and fill out. $10 a bracket. We're going to put this into a nice little pool, and we'll see who comes out on top. If you want to play online, and perhaps you can't make it to the Recov, go to our Facebook group page, Matt, or my Facebook profile, or at the Sports Carney on Twitter, and enter our Run Your Pool March Madness Bracket Challenge. It's under the Sports Carnival. You see the link. It's right there, easy to fill out.
You showed it to me this morning. It's pretty easy to find, pretty easy to go through.
Super easy. But this is what we really want you to do. Come on down, fill out the bracket at the Recov, and play along with us. Okay, so we're going to have a best bracket challenge. Should be a lot of fun. And again, $10, going to be really interesting.
When we get down to the Sweet 16, if we'll get our first 16 in, we'll draw some names out of the hat, etc. So everybody gets to pick a team. We'll break it down through the.
Yes.
There'll be plenty of options to enjoy the NCAA tournament at the bar over the next couple weeks.
And plenty of things, right? So we saw our Stacks Family Farm stuff. Jameson, our good friends at Jameson Irish Whiskey, and the Lacrosse Beverage Group have delivered to us some really nice new pieces of swag, which we'll be giving away tonight for bingo, and as well as part of our March Madness giveaway.
And Friday as well, because it's St. Patty's Day. It's going to be a crazy-ass week.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy-ass weekend.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I'm excited. Thursday, XFL football is going to be great. Friday's going to be crazy with St. Patty's Day. Saturday, and we get all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we got college basketball plus a holiday weekend. So there's a lot in store for the city of La Crosse and all over the country this week.
I'm just like, right now, I'm trying not to get too excited because in the back of my mind, I'm like, humma Friday. I'll be working behind the bar. We've got, oh man, we've just got so much revelry. I just love St. Patrick's Day in La Crosse. It's awesome. So we've got great stuff to give away. Badgers accept the NIT invitation. As P1 Breacher mentions here, North Carolina declined it. You and I were talking about that before the show this morning. I was surprised, like I've mentioned, to see the Badgers actually take that invitation. But we'll talk about the entire field of not just 64, but 68, because there's a couple of those 16, 16, 11, 11 games that will tip off, I want to say, tomorrow. So I think that'll be the first games we'll be starting tomorrow night.
Yep.
So we'll get into the full throes of March Madness basketball. The poll question that I've got for you guys and gals on our Twitter feed at the Sports Carney actually has to do with college sports. Which of these college playoffs is your favorite? Is it March Madness? Is it the college football playoff? Is it the Frozen Four? Or is it the College World Series? So you can take that poll question on Twitter, on our Facebook group page, Matt. It's in a perfect world. If you're a Packer fan, how would you like to see the resolution between Rodgers and the Packers? How would you like to see the resolution between Rodgers and the Packers ultimately work out? And then you mentioned something that I don't know how much time we'll be able to spend on it this morning, just because we are so loaded, but I do think deserves at least some airspace, and that is the XFL. You would mention the XFL looking exciting on Thursday. The XFL, while it won't have 46 million people watching every single weekend of play like it did in week one, is starting to really get fan interest. In St. Louis, a sellout crowd, at least to what they had determined they would open in that St. Louis arena, 38,000 people.
It's crazy.
38,000 people were there to see an XFL football game. In Orlando, where yesterday, maybe it wasn't Orlando. It was DC.
Yep,
the DC Defenders.
Yep. There's 4 stadiums that are basically selling out, and there's 4 stadiums that nobody really cares about, unfortunately.
Well, sure. And listen, different strokes for different folks. Right. Vegas is a tough sell. A lot of things going on there.
And their team sucks, too.
And their team sucks really bad. 0-4.
Yep.
But in DC, in St. Louis,
Seattle,
really
DC,
good.
Houston. The 4 biggest ones are Houston, Seattle, DC, and St. Louis. Their crowds are phenomenal. All 4 of those crowds are phenomenal.
Okay, so one thing that I'll mention as well about the XFL last Thursday, John Papadopoulos, ESPN 105.5, I said, take the Houston Roughnecks, minus 8.5. As a matter of fact, take Houston minus the point spread until they show you they're not the best team in the XFL. Wade Phillips is by far the best coach in this league. Houston seems to be by far the most
best team.
I mean, the most consistent,
all-around
at
team.
least. Absolutely.
And Orlando's the worst team, so that's what I was trying to say that last week is for me, obviously, Dave, you know this when it comes to betting better. I would take Houston almost every game the rest of the year, and I'd go against Orlando the rest of the game. And this week,
I'd fade Vegas too.
Well, but Vegas plays Orlando this week, so that's going to be a tough call.
Hey, it's going to be the first tie in XFL's 2023 season. All right, guys and gals, stay tuned with us. We have got a lot left to cover. When we come back, I want to talk about Mark Murphy and what it is that he said during a WIAA State basketball broadcast this weekend. Stick around. It is the Sports Carnival broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just a regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm done hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cocktail parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Welcome back. Sports Carnival just continues to roll on, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio, powered by my good buddy Matt and the Recovery Room. Open at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Bingo starts tonight at 7 p.m. And really looking forward to seeing you guys and gals out here for bingo tonight. Again, we've got our March Madness brackets, which will be available. These have already been printed. We'll have these available for you at the Recub. Just ask one of your servers, if it's not me, for your March Madness bracket, and they'll go ahead and hook you up.
Just remember to put your name and phone number on top of it, everybody. That's Rule 101 when it comes to brackets. Always remember your full first and last name and your phone number in case we don't know you.
Yeah, exactly. And saying what's up to all our friends this morning out there on the, well, I was going to say the social circles. We've got Facebook, our group page, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn. Mike Byers is checking in saying, good daylight savings morning to you folks. Finally, light out.
I'm still adjusting, man. I don't know about you. I get up about 4 or 5 o'clock every morning, and when this lack of sleep I'm still adjusting. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I'd had this in my mind's eye and prepared for the weekend that we were going to jump ahead, but I was a little surprised because I wake up yesterday morning, and I told you on Saturday, just kind of hung out. My son and I went and saw Cocaine Bear. Oh my God. Funny fucking movie. I mean, it really was worth the price of admission. It's an hour and a half of pure movie going magic. It's an escapist dream. It's, like I say, funny, well written. It's not too campy. It's just campy enough. And it just gives you a nice break from all the other movies that we see that are 3-4 hours. So the point is,
without giving a spoiler, is there one kill that you'll remember most from the movie? I guess that's a yes. I'm saying because I haven't seen it, my friend.
Yes,
so,
It's Ray Liotta's last movie, by the way. Yep. So for that in and of itself, if you're a fan of his, go see it. But I mentioned to you, I was just kind of hanging out here on Saturdays, spent the day with John for the most part. So I went to sleep fairly early. I wake up and I'm thinking it's near 8 o'clock on Sunday. And I'm like, wow, I really slept in because I don't sleep in. I'm like you, I don't sleep in till 8 o'clock. Give me a break. Then I look at my phone. I'm like, fuck, it's 9. That's what really surprised me is actually overslept or slept in way more than I thought I did.
Oh,
So
you
that
slept
was
in
my
normal- you just had an
adjustment
extra
period.
hour. You slept in, but you just felt a little more because it was extra hour. So you got a good sleep. It was just the clock that fucked you up.
Yeah,
little bit.
well, I thought, hey, I'm waking up at 8. This is great. I
Yep.
wake up and it's 9. So needless to say, my adjustment period actually happened yesterday because I was 10 in bar, and I kind of got myself into the throes this morning. Like Mike said, finally it's light out. That's going to be the biggest change up for me, because at 6 o'clock you take the dog out and it's bright. Now you take the dog out at 6, it's pitch black.
And we'll see what our government does, and maybe they get rid of it this fucking year and we don't have it anymore. That'd be great.
Maybe we'll see if they can ever agree on anything in both houses. That would be
They're not
quite
you
an
and I where we
accomplishment.
tend to agree on everything.
No, as a matter of fact, their job seems to be to not agree on things.
That's true.
Mike Byers has got a comment I'm going to put up on the screen after I show you guys what I wanted to show you guys. Again, Matt and I are playing, Matt Ellens and I are playing this wicked game. If you're just joining us, every time one of us says the full name of
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, that's another one for you. One of us has to take a Stack's Family Farms gummy, which could lead to some hijinks throughout this show and through the rest of good catch.
Still good.
Good catch. That's good hands by Matt there. So anyways, I'm going to attempt to not say it for at least 3 to 5 minutes so I can work myself through the program. Mark Murphy, though, had quite a bit to say about Mr. Rogers. And when Mark was interviewed on Channel 2 WBAY, and this was in the midst of the WIAA Girls High School State Basketball Tournament, Mark was asked a very direct question. And I'm glad that this question was asked of him. And I'm glad that Mark took it on in a very direct way. So Murphy was asked if there were any sequence of events in this offseason that would end with Rodgers as the Packers quarterback for a 16th consecutive season. And Mark says this, his quote is on the screen, and if you're not able to see it, I'll just read it through to you. Yeah, I mean, unless if things don't work out the way we want them, yeah, we would. He's obviously a great player. So once again, is there any sequence of events in which you could see Rodgers coming back to the Packers for a 16th season? Yeah, I mean, unless if things don't work out the way we want them, yeah, we would.
I love how both sides are trying to frame their communication on this. It's absolutely so they're answering the question without answering the question.
Well, he's telling you that, look, if everything works out, and this is only
there's undertones, obviously.
Well, and this is only a portion of his comment that I could put on screen, because Mark went on to say that what the Packers hope to do is come to a resolution that works for both the Green Bay Packers and for Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is that he said he hopes happens. This thing, though, between the Packers and Rodgers is over. At least they feel it is. Now, as somebody who is also going through a process of, separation, the legal ease of separation, you can want things for a long time. You may even have intentions to make that certain separation. But then the reality of the structure of, let's say, contracts in Rodgers' particular case, let's say the reality of another taker. In Rodgers' case, it's a team. If you're, I don't know, a person and you're getting divorced, maybe it's another guy or a girl. Who's going to take you? And do you have the right stuff, either the contract or do you have the right, financials to make these moves and make them well? This may not end up well for Rodgers or the Green Bay Packers. That's still a realistic possibility. I'm not suggesting that it happens. It probably works out that Rodgers goes to the Jets. But there is a situation, and Mark was hinting at that and sort of alluding to that. There is a situation in which that doesn't work. Like if the Packers and Jets don't come to terms on a trade package, if Aaron, who over the weekend was asked by Brandon Marshall, Aaron was at a flag football tournament or something. He was asked by Brandon Marshall when we would find out. Stay tuned. Yep. I'll make a decision soon. Because, of course, Aaron doesn't want the attention, obviously. And you use words like stay tuned when you're a total non-thirsty individual.
Well, he seemed to say that he knows he needs to make a decision, but at the same time, just make your decision and let us know today.
Dude,
That's
I'm using this like, if you're saying stay tuned, you're basically a very thirsty person because you know that you want people to keep watching. Anyways, Mark was alluding to in his comments, and he goes on to talk more about during this interview with WBAY. He goes on to talk about Jordan Love being ready, Jordan Love needing to play, Aaron Rodgers having
another one
great career as a Packer, but using the past tense, everything in which Mark Murphy referred to Rodgers with. I thought I just said, okay. I thought I said just Rodgers. I'll take one. Well, everything that he used to say about Rodgers, though, Matt, he used in the past tense, which again, to me, signals that the Green Bay Packers fully intend to move on. But like I was mentioning, there is a situation in which this doesn't happen. And the Jets, by the way, by 12 o'clock today, Eastern time, 11 o'clock Central time, they're going to be pressing hard on the Packers and Rodgers to figure something out, because they've already lost out Derek Carr. If they don't get Rodgers, or if he holds them high and dry, what about Jimmy Garoppolo? Are they letting him pass? Is somebody going to make a move for Lamar Jackson? Possibly. The Miami Dolphins just did a big trade yesterday, getting Jalen Ramsey.
And they brought up Tua's fifth-year option as well, which obviously doesn't mean a lot, but because Tua's concussion things going forward, there's a talk that the Commanders might make a run at Lamar Jackson as well, which that's a hell of a pivot, because they have the, Dan Snyder, in my opinion, might want to do that for two different ways. Don't know if we're going to have time to get into that conversation with Joe on how Snyder might just want to fuck over every other owner by signing Lamar Jackson to a huge contract, and then also selling the team to somebody with a huge ass contract too as well. So it's crazy what's going to happen in the NFL here coming up. Obviously, we're talking about Rodgers. Lazard wants to know what Rodgers is going to do. Not that that's a huge, big play for the Packers going forward. What I was going to say, and I don't think it was Mark Murphy, but somebody came out and basically was talking about how Rodgers is so emotionally similar to Brett Favre in the same way, where they just are very much into themselves, and it's not so much into themselves, but they like the attention, and they're very sensitive people, I guess, is the way that it's coming across for both these guys at their points in their career when this is happening.
I mean, it feels like Rodgers has always been somebody really sensitive to criticism.
That California sensitivity.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm from California, and I don't particularly find that to be true for myself. I know what you're saying, though, and I get that general overall sensibility. I think for Rodgers, he's long held this chip on his shoulder sort of mentality, which does serve you well in a lot of different ways when you're coming up and you're trying to battle against all odds. You win a Super Bowl. You become a 4-time MVP. One of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL and Green Bay Packer history, to be sure. Nothing to take away from him, from his accomplishments. But that chip on your shoulder, it serves you well up into a point, right? And then it starts to become like everything that you carry too long. It becomes a burden, right? And it's, what was it? Sisyphus that tried to keep rolling the rock up the hill in the old Roman parable. That's what the chip on the shoulder can be after a while. Like, you need to be able to deal with that chip on your shoulder. I had one for a long time coming up, even in broadcasting. I mean, I really did. And we don't need to go into it, but I had so many people try to keep me out, doubt me, do different things to make it to where I didn't get in. And if I didn't have a chip on my shoulder, I'm not sure that I would have accomplished what I did. But at the same time, you need to get to a point where you say, I can remove this chip. Like, I've done what I needed to do. I know where I'm at. I know where I'm supposed to go. I'm not sure that Rodgers has ever lost that. Now, Brett Favre, I think it was different for him. Brett Favre was, and this was a different day and age in the media too. Brett Favre was revered in such a way. I think that he liked the conquering hero feeling that he got when people go down to wherever the fuck Mississippi and spend their offseason to recruit this hick to come back and play more football, right? Like, hey, stop stealing from the welfare system of Mississippi for like 3 months, Brett. Come back and play some more football. And, he'd choose on a piece of cut or whatever those people do down there in the deep south.
All he wanted to do was stick it to the Packers. That's why he went to the Vikings.
Well, he also wanted to stick it to a massage therapist. We saw that on his text message.
Yeah, and a couple of other young ladies with a Chimera and a hot tub, I guess, back in the way too. Yeah. Where I really like this, and I'm going to go this, me being a Bears fan, is I would love to get the Packers Nation's feeling, because when all this comes up, first person that comes to me is Jay Cutler, and how much shit now people he has the shittiest attitude in the world. And I'll tell you, and I'll admit that Cutler was obviously not the greatest quarterback. He did seem to besmirch his teammates. He had his head down low and everything else. I think Aaron Rodgers isn't that far away from being the attitude that Packer fans were giving Bear fans about Jay Cutler, where Bear fans are being like, hey, Packer fans, we told you this is going to happen.
That's interesting. And you know what? I'd not ever really made that sort of connection. But at this point, I think that's actually kind of a salient comp. Jeff Zelke's checking in with us this morning on our YouTube page, Matt. And he says this: my guess is A-Rod is waiting because he wants to know what other teams are interested. We had a comment in here from Mike Byers earlier, and he had said that he thought Rodgers would, again, wait this out. There would be more time in between the decision. Jeff, the thing that I would push back on about Rodgers wanting to see which teams are interested is this: because of Rodgers' contract, and this is just a dollars and cents bottom line take, because of his contract, it really, really makes it difficult for any team to take him on. There are like only a couple of teams that even have the flexibility cap-wise to entertain this particular deal.
The Bears could still do it.
Bears are still one of them, which, again, the Packers ain't trading them in division, right? Like, that's just never going to happen.
Oh, my God. That would be
the Packers
cats and dogs living together.
The Packers would ask for, like, the remains of George Halas to be sent over to them for – never happened. Okay. So taking out the Bears, you really don't have that many teams, Jeff, that could afford to bring Rodgers' contract on. The Jets are actually one of them. And you still need to have, at least under league rules, the total amount of his contract, $58.2 million for this upcoming year. You have to have that amount available in your salary cap for at least 24 hours because the league needs you to have that money, even if you're going to restructure the deal available just by league protocol and rules. So there just aren't that many suitors. We've already heard the Las Vegas Raiders say they are out. They are out on this whole thing. The Carolina Panthers were a team that I thought maybe would be interested. Maybe, just maybe.
Not anymore. We haven't even gotten to that yet.
Exactly. We haven't even got to the fact that your favorite team, the Chicago Bears, traded the #1 pick for DJ Moore, the 9th pick, I think the
2 first rounds, 2 second rounds, and DJ Moore.
Yeah, so the 9th pick in this year's draft, the 61st pick in this year's draft, next year's first, next year's second,
and a starting wide receiver.
Yep. Well played. And the Chicago Bears could, listen, they could still move back. They could move back up. All things are on the table.
And they still have like $75 million in cap space.
Yeah, if not more.
Yep.
I think they might even have more.
Well,
so
I think with the DJ Moore signing, it's going to take it down. That's all. But they still have a shit ton of money.
Dude, they had like $138 million. DJ Moore shouldn't count $75 million against
No.
the cap.
They were down. So they were below. They did a couple signings after the season, so it brought it down a little bit, just moving forward. So they still have a shit ton of money.
Okay. All right. So back to Jeff's question, and then even Mike's proclamation about Rodgers taking this time to really figure these things out, and perhaps, like Jeff said, even gauge the interest of other teams. There just really won't be anybody else that is playing in this particular sandbox right now. There just really isn't. It won't be the Houston Texans. It won't be some of these teams that even if they could, they won't do that. So with that said, guys and gals, it is right now the Jets, the Packers, or bust. Now, we saw the comments from Mark Murphy. We put them on the screen. Is there a scenario in which Rodgers comes back? Sure. And it's if this Jets trade doesn't work out. But realistically, I'm thinking of it like this, Jeff. If Rodgers doesn't want to go to the Jets, and Matt, you and I talked about it before we started this morning. If Rodgers doesn't want to go to the Jets, I don't think he retires. But I do think that it is within the realm of possibility that Rodgers says, you know what? I'm not going to play this year. I'm going to take a year off. The Packers would, yes, have to eat that dead cap money. Yes. Rodgers does not care. That's not his modus operandi, caring about the Packers.
That way, that's for sure.
Not at all. It's just not at all. So I could see that potentially happening if, in fact, Rodgers doesn't get what he wants. Now we're looking at the Jets, and we're saying, well, the Jets, you've missed out on Carr. If you miss out on Rodgers, like, what's plan C?
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Is it
maybe?
Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yep.
Is it Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
If I was the Jets, and this is something I still can't quite wrap my mind around. If I was the Jets, I'd probably be looking a lot harder at a guy like Lamar Jackson than even Aaron Rodgers because, dude, Lamar Jackson's 26. I realize the guy's missed a couple of games in the last year or two, but he's a 26-year-old quarterback. That's what I would do if I was the Jets. But, of course, we know Woody Johnson, their owner, Joe Douglas, their GM, Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett.
They're all in.
They're all in on Rodgers. They're all in on Rodgers.
And I guess I would say this going forward, too, as well, is because you already just quoted Mark Murphy saying we want to make this work best for both sides.
Yeah.
We haven't heard shit from Aaron Rodgers, obviously, yet, but it would be great for him to kind of
stay tuned. Decision coming soon.
It'd be great for him to come out and say at least the same thing in some sort of aspects where if I don't come to the Packers, I want to make this work out for the Packers and for myself as well, instead of Mark Murphy just being the only guy coming out. So Aaron's not saying a whole lot of a lot, but at least if he could just come out and say that, hey, I want to make this work for the Packers as well, that would be great. But nobody knows.
That would be fantastic.
It is what it is.
Yeah, he won't be saying that. I don't anticipate Rodgers saying he wants it to work out well for the Packers anytime soon. All right, I do see P12 Foreman has written us this looks like it was Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Aaron Rodgers with the follow-up, you owe me a bag of gummies at bingo tonight. All right, if you are just joining the program and Green and Gold Insider Joe Daguanno is just jumping aboard right now, we are doing somewhat of a little challenge. Every time Matt or myself says that full
name, and I'll take
name.
one of those for you since you don't have to do both of them together since Foreman got you twice there, buddy.
Okay, fair enough. Since one of us will say the full name, one of us has to take one of these Stax Family Farms gummies. Again, Stax Family Farms, some of the producers of the finest quality, I would say, hemp and THC products in the state of Wisconsin. So thank you very much, guys. All right, let's do this. We'll step aside, take a quick break, say what's up to the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, who I'll actually be seeing later today. We're going to be getting my condo in the Wisconsin Dells up for sale. So I'll be meeting him down there in the Dells. Again, Kyle Cable, the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival, buying, selling, or investing in real estate. Do yourself a favor. Do what I did. Call Kyle and get yourself started today. We're back in about 40 seconds. Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Stack's Family Farms gummies go down smooth. Get the smooth refreshment of Delta 9 THC from Stack's Family Farms.
Watermelon, watermelon, strawberry, blue raspberry, and sour apple. And I love that blue raspberry.
And they've really got some nice swag, too. These hats are fantastic. Johnny Watt, hope to see you soon. And again, Stack's Family Farms available for sale at the Recovery Room, open this afternoon at 4 p.m. And I'll be hosting bingo this evening coming up at 7. We've got one of our Facebook.
Johnny Watt right there.
Johnny Watt jumping in saying, I'm loving this. Do we have a count of how many gummies each has had yet? I'm at 4.
Well, I know how many are in the bag, so I'll let you know after the end of the show. We'll just count it down at the end of the show, Johnny.
All right. Well, I'm at 4 right now, but as a professional in the business, I feel that my my tolerance is going to be holding me pretty well here because, listen, unlike Aaron Rodgers, when it comes to off-season workouts, I stay with the off-season workout program. So the Stack's Family Farms things shouldn't kill me too bad. Joe Daguanno is our green and gold insider joining us from, I want to say, are you in Madison or Eau Claire this morning, Joe?
I am in lovely Eau Claire this morning, as evidenced by
Beauty.
the Eau Claire Memorial signage in the back here. You guys, I know I'm going to age myself with this, but you guys are like Dr. Johnny Fever and Venus Flytrap right now in the sobriety test episode where Dr. Johnny Fever actually his response time gets better the more booze he drinks during that day. So you guys, I just had a Howard Hessman and Tim Reed flashback watching you guys in the waiting room. That's good stuff, brother. That is it's fun to watch.
I was going to say, Joe, maybe sometime in the future we'll do this at the bar, and then you'll join us down at the bar, and we'll see how really bad of a shit show we can put together for an hour.
You know what? It's dangerous. It's just it is really dangerous when you get professional alcoholics together at an establishment with Bloody Marys involved, and so it's a dangerous proposition. I don't even want to talk about AR-12 today. I'm going to let's talk about Hugh Grant's response at the Oscars last night. He just did not want to fucking be there. I don't even know why you're asking me these questions. I was in that movie for like 3 seconds. Get out of my face. You know, the response was great. Whose suit are you wearing? My own. It was a great response, and I just thought Hugh Grant was kind of a douchebag, but he moved up in my respect meter.
He had that
he's
one
head of AR-12 now. Let's put it that way.
He had that one quote with Andy, or that one line with Andy McDowell. I didn't watch it at all either, Joe, but I just saw the lines, and he's like, "This is what you do to put lotion on or something." And she's like, "You look at her, she's beautiful, and I look like a scrotum or something." So I did see you did have one good line last night for sure.
Oh, Joe, you know what? Let's actually do something fun then. Let's work ourselves in reverse fashion back to AR-12. So we'll leave that as our final salvo this morning, and I'll open us up with a couple of questions that are coming to us on our YouTube and or Facebook group page. I don't have them right in front of me, but I've seen them scroll through this morning. So the Bears make a huge trade, jump from number 1 down to 9, but pick up DJ Moore, pick up a lot of draft capital. The number 9 pick, number 61 pick this year. Next year's first, next year's second, as we mentioned, a starting wide receiver, which is, let's face it, what Justin Fields needed probably more than anything, offensive line help and some wide receiver help. What if you were going to grade that particular trade, what letter grade would you put on that?
For the Bears, an A. They to be in a position, and look, this is what happens when you lose. All right. So it's kind of like in business, when you get a company that has a great year and gets an award for having a great year, well, yeah, it's because they sucked the years previous. And so, I thought they did a great job. And to be in a position where you got the number 1 pick and you don't need a quarterback, And there are a lot of teams that need quarterbacks this year. And so, and you look at those draft choices that they're getting from Carolina. Carolina's going to suck probably for the next 2 or 3 years. And so those draft choices are going to be actually high picks for the Bears. So, it's really, I think, in my opinion, a really nice job by Ryan Pace and that organization. And I actually had a football event up here yesterday with Eau Claire Memorial, and I've got some members on the coaching staff who are Bears fans, and they were just like, you know what, this is a great position to be in as a franchise, and it really is. I mean, again, you got to go through shit. It's kind of like the Bears right now. They've got the lotus flower because they've been going through the fucking mud for the last several years, and so yeah. Now, don't fuck up these picks that they're getting, and they've really got a nice chance to build a foundation for Fields and that franchise.
So let me ask you this question here, Joe. What do you think the Panthers do with the number 1 pick? Do you think they stay? Because there's still a possibility they could trade back if they're given a sweetened pot, right? The Houston Texans, the Colts could come up with something. And
there's already speculation that they might trade down Houston. So I just don't think right now there is that I got to have that quarterback. I think there's enough debate that, and I've always said picking quarterbacks in the draft, it really is kind of like going in the old Baskin Robbins. All right. So it's like you got 31 fucking flavors, and I like this guy. Well, he likes this guy. Well, he likes this guy, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and again, going back to it, and we're not going to mention AR-12, but it's the same thing that Brian Gutekunst did back in 2020, where, he had a huge hard on for Jordan Love. And he decided to make that move. And so I think Carolina's in a pretty good position. But, when you give up the receiver, that's the part that I think really hurts the Carolina franchises, because if you're going to rock and roll with that rookie quarterback and you don't have a go-to receiver that you can rely on, that's why I think like the Raiders, if they do go rookie quarterback, if they go young, and they've got somebody like Devontae Adams, and they've got Weller, and they've got a kind of a core group together, I think it makes more sense. So, it's going to be interesting where Carolina goes right now. And obviously they've got a lot of money down there, but it was a huge move. And then, of course, the other trade over the weekend, Jalen Ramsey going to the Dolphins.
You bet.
And that was a great trade by the Dolphins. And you can see right now teams are getting ready. And I tweeted about this today that, legal tampering, that is just it's just, why don't you just start fucking free agency?
Exactly.
Sooner?
Exactly.
I'm like, it is the dumbest ass thing that the NFL has come up with. 11 o'clock today, you can legally tamper. I mean, it's kind of like
combine.
I want to have this in all of our lives, guys. I want to have, because obviously we all know, there's certain things that are illegal in this state. I want to have like a period of time where it's legal, because tampering inherently is illegal. Okay, tampering, right. The term tampering inherently is illegal, but you're going to say there's legal tampering. So I want legal speeding. I want, I want all of these things legal for just a momentary laugh. It's the dumbest ass thing the NFL has ever done, but it starts at 11 o'clock today. And so we're going to start seeing a lot of shit happening today with NFL free agency.
Well, we really are. We'll see a lot of things start to work themselves into fruition today, because again, while we can't see these trades become official until I want to say Wednesday of this week when the league new year officially starts, fellas,
right?
We do see these deals like Jalen Ramsey, which again can't be officially consummated until Wednesday, get worked out, get announced. Now, I know on Thursday you said that by the end of Friday we would have some sort of a deal for Mr. Rodgers. And we saw Mark Murphy over the weekend. Joe, I'm putting the comments, back on the screen right now for us to all sort of look at. We saw and we heard from Mark Murphy over the weekend be absolutely non-committal, less than non-committal, basically say in no uncertain terms that the Packers are ready to turn the page on Rodgers. And he used every past tense version of speech when referring to Rodgers' career, but did acknowledge, Joe, and this is something that I think that as Packer fans, we all have to sort of acknowledge as a realistic part of this business and the contract that Rodgers signed. There still is a chance Rodgers comes back to the Packers if, in fact, he wants to play football, and the Jets and the Packers don't work out a trade that both of them will accept, which I believe they still will. But when you look at Mark saying that unless things don't work out the way they want them to, Rodgers will be gone, This is the first time Mark's ever come anywhere close to saying that. But you and I have talked a lot over the last couple of seasons about Mark Murphy's preference, about Brian Gutekunst's preference, maybe even Matt LaFleur's preference. It felt like when they hired LaFleur and Rodgers was on the decline, they make that trade up to get Jordan Love. The idea was about bringing in a system, a style of play, sort of like what Shanahan's done in San Francisco and McVay did to varying degrees of success in Los Angeles with the Rams. They want a system. They can plug and play people in that system, but they want a system. They want to build a franchise around that. It feels like these guys collectively now, Murphy, Gutekunst, LaFleur to a lesser degree because he hasn't spoken, are really acknowledging that they're kind of frustrated with the fact that their system hasn't been run yet, and they're ready to move on to Love. Can that just be as simple as it is, Joe, that this Green Bay Packer team is ready to go to a system style of play? The Ravens have one, right? The 49ers have one. And Rodgers just isn't playing ball with them enough to make himself a part of that system. So, yeah, they're throwing up their hands and saying, dude, we've kind of wanted this, but now they're actually ready to say it. Is that kind of where you see this relationship at this point?
Yeah, and there's speculation right now that that look, and I've said this before, AR-12 always wanted to be a lifelong Packer. He wanted to be Bart Starr. He did not want to be Brett Favre. All right. So he'd already, when I was much more in tune with the media, that was a well-known fact. And so it wouldn't have surprised me at all if he came out of the darkness and said, all right, Green Bay, I am ready to come back. And Green Bay said, yeah, thanks, but not. And look, I think Green Bay was very committed to Rodgers last year with that contract. This was not supposed to be a one-year contract. It really wasn't. And so I think Green Bay was committed. I don't know if Rodgers was committed back. And I think that's where this problem lies is they made a huge financial investment and commitment with Rodgers, 2 back-to-back MVPs. And I don't think he made the commitment back. And I think Green Bay, look, Goody, we knew this day was coming that when Goody drafted Love. We knew that this was coming. You and I, again, I always harken back to that draft morning when you said, what's the one thing that's going to piss you off? And I said, draft Jordan Love. And so we knew this day was coming, though. And I think Green Bay, right now, Green Bay is hoping and praying that this thing doesn't get ugly like it is with Favre. And the interesting thing is, for all Rodgers saying all those years that he didn't want to be like Favre and he didn't want to do this. It is exactly the same fucking thing. It's deja vu all over again that Packer fans and Packer Nation went through with Brett Favre. So, yeah, I think that Green Bay is ready to move on. I think that they've invested in Jordan Love. Now, again, whether or not Jordan Love is a player or not, I will go to the recovery room every NFL season, and buy drinks for everybody if Jordan Love balls out, because I will be wrong at that point. I will be happy to do that. I still don't see it. I still don't see the mental part of the game with him. This is a guy that led the NCAA in interceptions his junior year. And so, yeah, Green Bay's ready to move on. I don't know what Rodgers wants to do. I heard you guys talking. Why would you want to fucking go to the AFC? If
I can't figure it.
If you are Aaron Rodgers, you have nothing to gain by going to the Jets. You have absolutely zero to gain because you're going to the harder conference. You've got all of these quarterbacks over there. The NFC is the lesser conference. It makes zero sense to me. Honestly, if I'm 12 right now, I say, you know what, guys, I'm out. Because I just don't win. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I don't see any way possible him going to the Jets. It's a winning proposition.
So this is something, Joe, that we were talking about. Matt and I had even mentioned right before we brought you on here. I think there is a possibility that if this thing doesn't work out to everybody's, best desires, which for Rodgers, I don't even know what that is. Okay. And I would hate to speculate on that, but I think there is a chance that Rodgers, while he might not officially retire, because there is a difference between becoming officially retired and saying, I'm not going to play this year. I'm taking the year off. And would that leave the Packers with a lot of dead cap to eat? Yes. Yes, it would. Do I think Rodgers is concerned about that? Not at all. Not even a little bit. So in that respect, Joe, I could see that potentially actually happening. And then Rodgers trying to pull what really hasn't been successful by many. Le'Veon Bell showed it didn't work at all. But there have been instances in which guys have tried this. I could see him trying to sit out a year and come back because he thinks that's how good he is But to your point about the AFC, and Matt, we were talking about this and we touched on it briefly. The AFC and even the AFC East just got harder yesterday. Jalen Ramsey now puts the best cornerback, at least one of the two best cornerbacks in the NFL, in the same division. You know who the best cornerback is? Well, they play for the Jets. It's probably Sauce Gardner. But you've got Jalen Ramsey. You've got a Buffalo team who plays an interesting kind of defense. Bill Belichick didn't forget how to coach defense, and the Patriots weren't a bad team last year. They weren't a great team, but they weren't a bad team. Even that division has a quarterback that's a better quarterback than Rodgers is today, and Josh Allen. I mean, that's just as...
I'll even throw out there that the Dolphins got better on both ends, because not only does it make Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins better, it makes Tyreek Hill better, and both sides, because they're going against each other in practice. So that makes them faster, better, both all the way around. That's a scary-ass division to be in.
Real quick, guys, and before I go, I tweeted this out. Andy Herman, who I follow really closely, does the Pack-A-Day podcast. And he did a really nice job in his podcast today, breaking down how the fuck did the Packer organization and Rodgers and we as a Packer Nation get here today. He broke down the steps leading up to this. And so I would recommend, and I retweeted it this morning, but find Andy Herman on Twitter, go to YouTube. He is right up there with your podcast, DC, that I think, some of the best stuff out there. And Herman really said, because he wanted to tear apart, how did this fucking onion get so smelly? And how did because right now the other thing with the Green Bay Packers, despite other reports, they got like zero cap room.
Yes.
So they've got cap room. Yes, today they have cap room today. But once that trade happens, your draft happens, all these other things. Ken Ingalls, another guy who I follow, he broke it down. Green Bay is basically at net zero right now on cap space. And you can't go out and sign a bunch of guys. So now you've got Jordan Love. You got a bloated cap. You have a team that is teetering on what I would say average talent. And so you are not in a good situation. And again, if you really want to know how did you get to this point? Because you're just like, fuck, 3 years ago, Green Bay was loaded with cap room. Everything looked bright and rosy. Things were, they had probably 7 or 8 of the top 100 players in the NFL. And now you're looking today, and this team is further away from the NFC North Championship than they ever have. And so it's a real interesting breakdown of how Green Bay and Brian Gutekunst and this organization got there today. And again, I place blame in a lot of directions. I don't think there's one area where you can say that guy's the guy, but this is on Murphy, Russ Ball, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, Brian Gutekunst. The list goes on and on. This organization right now, arguably, could be the third best team, maybe fourth best team in the division on paper.
Well, that's a scary proposition, but you're not wrong. The Lions have gotten increasingly better over the last number of years. The Bears are going to reshape an entire roster within the coming days and weeks ahead. As a matter of fact, the Bears might be amongst the biggest newsmakers today when legal tampering begins at 11 Central, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And
even with DJ Moore, they still have $75 million in cap space.
Okay, so you were right on that one, Matty. All right,
Packers have so many free agents as well, so they have a lot of shit to figure out going forward. So, I mean, even if Rodgers comes back, is Bakhtiari coming back? There's just so much shit that the Packers have to figure out.
You know what? Bach restructured, and so I don't see any he's not leaving anywhere.
Oh, I thought he was a free agent. That's my bad.
What's that?
I thought he was a free agent. That's my bad.
No, he restructured his deal. So he's coming back, but it's still it's an ugly cap, you guys, for the Green Bay Packers. And they keep on, they restructured all these deals just to get down to net zero this year. Well, guess what? The cap number next year is going to be horrible for the Green Bay Packers. So it's just an ugly scene right now. Andy Herman, I highly recommend it. It's How Did the Packers Get Here Today?
I'm going to check this thing out, Joe. So Andy Herman, How Did the Packers Get Here Today? I will say, just in my opinion, that considering all of what you have mentioned, there is something at play here for the Green Bay Packers. It's called the first overall pick for next year. If they start off this season 0-4 and start to really suck it up big and say it's this, they've already traded Rodgers, whatever, their cap casualties just littered all over the field. If they suck it up at 0-4, then you start the race for the bottom and you trade away Bakhtiari, you trade away Jair, you trade away as many of your pieces as you can before the deadline. And then you go to number 1 because there are 2 quarterbacks, not one, but 2 quarterbacks coming up this year. The kid from North Carolina and then Caleb Williams from USC that are going to be surefire picks. And these are rare occurrences when you get these kinds of quarterbacks at the top of the draft that you'd be able to choose from. That's where I would say the Packers would then probably start to transition if, in fact, they started off the season on an 0-4, 0-5, sort of a record. I would hope that isn't the case, but there is still that to keep in mind. All right, Joe, listen, we're backed up. I got to talk some NCAA basketball, so I'm going to let you off the hook. But as always, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Our
Joe.
Gold Insider Joe Daguanno may be asked to fill in this week because if we get breaking news on Rodgers, we need reaction. Joe, appreciate you as always, and we'll see you next Monday at the very latest, buddy.
All right, see you, boys. Take care.
See you. We'll be back here in about 37 seconds. Sports Carnival coming back with some NCAA and Badger talk. We've got the poll questions up on our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney, as well as the Facebook group page. Stay tuned.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Go see Tony Rausa or Brian Sandmeyer at Preferred Insurance downtown La Crosse, the official insurance provider of the Sports Carnival. Let them pick from all of the nation's largest carriers to give you a compare and contrast on your insurance for your home, your auto, your flood, or your business. Again, that is Preferred Insurance. Tony and Brian down there on 5th Street, downtown La Crosse. Actually, yeah, are they in 4th Street, downtown La Crosse? Morning Wood checking in and saying this to us, Matthew. The quarterback class in 2025 is way better than 2024. Packers should trade off and stockpile picks for 2025. That's not what I've heard. That kid from the kid from North Carolina can be drafted this upcoming season. A lot of people like him to be the number 1 pick. And then, of course, you've got Caleb Williams from UFC, who people basically comp to Patrick Mahomes. Now, a lot of this is tough to say because they're in college, and Tim Tebow was fucking amazing in college.
Well, I mean, it's also just like
terrible NFL.
It's like going out and buying a lottery ticket. You never know if you're going to win or not on that ticket. So you want to get as many lottery tickets in the lottery as possible. You don't know who if these kids are going to work out. You might end up having a kid like Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, coming out and actually pulling his own weight. So You never know what you're going to get in the draft. It's always a fucking crapshoot. Are they healthy? Are they not healthy? Are they going to mature? Do they want to play football? Do they just want the money? It is what it is.
If you're a 7th round pick, you definitely are not guaranteed much money. So you're like,
you want to go and ball and play.
I better be good. Poor Brock Purdy, man. He looks so good, and then he gets his UCL injury, and then that gets set back. So he's probably not going to be starting the season, or at least I don't think he'll be ready for the season until about midway through.
I believe so, because Tommy John got delayed because
he had some swelling.
Yep.
So anyways, Morning Wood, again, he said that the 2025 class is better than 24. I don't really know because I'm not a scout. You might be right. I just know these 2 kids that both USC and North Carolina have, they would be considered, if they were out in this year's draft, they would be considered the number 1 pick. Like if those 2 guys were available today, they'd be above Stroud. They'd be above Bryce Young. Yep. They'd be above
Levis and
Will Levis, and then the kid from Florida who is
Anthony Wright, I believe.
Not Wright, it's Richardson, but he's an amazing athlete. Looks incredible. And something that I just brought up to Matt off air that I would like to just bring up with you guys and gals for a moment is this. When you look at what the Carolina Panthers are possibly doing, so who knows if they trade back even from 1, because maybe the Colts, maybe the Texans, maybe another team wants to jump up there. Maybe even the Raiders wants to get into that mix and try to get that pick, that number 1 pick. But I feel like if Carolina trades DJ Moore and they do stay at 1, they're going to go to a different kind of offense. That's when I think that Richardson from Florida becomes that pick, because you look at that Carolina Panther team, what's their history? Well, at least within recent success, Cam Newton. And Cam Newton, when he came to the Carolina Panthers, they had Steve Smith. So they had one guy that was a veteran established wide receiver. But you've got, Arch Manning's not going to be coming out in 2025.
No.
He's a freshman this year.
Yeah,
he can't even come out for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's not a thing. But it got me a little off track. When you think about what the Carolina Panthers could do, I think that if they, in fact, stay with 1, then it's the kid from Florida that's going to be their number 1 pick. I don't think Stroud. I don't think Bryce Young. Bryce Young is too small. He measured in at 5'10 and a half look at the troubles that Kyler Murray is having right now. I mean, that's about the size that Kyler Murray is. Kyler Murray, he's got some wiggle, no doubt, and he makes some explosive plays. But you see first of all, the injury concern, which is real. He has a hard time staying on the field.
Same thing with Tua, same size.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, bigger guys they're more durable in the NFL at quarterback.
Well, and I guess I'm going to throw this out for Carolina. They already made a big decision, so there's a shit ton of pressure on this kid if they draft a quarterback overall just because of what they gave away.
For sure.
Now, imagine if Carolina trades this pick away to another team and that team drafts this quarterback. That kid's going to even have more pressure on himself because of what both these teams gave up to give him. So they better get that first pick right overall, and that kid better be wanting to play football because we're all human beings. That's just a lot of pressure to put on a kid if two organizations are giving up a lot to draft you.
Well, at the same time, though, if you're that kid, that's not your fault.
No, it's not.
The drafting that's something that's out of your control.
But at the same time, we're all human, and that kid's going to feel that pressure inside of him.
Okay,
that's the way I would feel about it myself.
Sure,
that'd be my opinion.
Listen, put on your big boy pants. You're a professional now.
You're getting paid. Go play ball.
That's it. I mean, at a certain point, we have to hold them to account. But I agree, the pressure's big. But again, not their fault. Kwame Brown didn't draft himself number one by the Washington Wizards.
I'm guessing
Michael Jordan.
The organization better make sure they get that pick right.
Well, yes, I think the pressure is on the general manager, right? Like you draft this and you're trading away all of our shit to get Trey Lance. No offense, John Lynch, but yeah, you better be right. Okay, so I want to get into college hoops briefly. So we've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Really quick, let me set up the poll questions for those that are just joining. So we've got one on our Twitter feed at The Sports Carney. What's your favorite NCAA postseason? You can choose from March Madness. We're talking men's, maybe women's, whatever. The Frozen Four, college hockey. Is it the College World Series or is it the college football playoffs? Matt, 72.2% of voters right now, March Madness. Everything else coming in second, third, and fourth, basically 11 to 5% of the votes. Our Facebook poll question is, in a perfect world, as a Packer fan, how'd you like to see the Packers and Rodgers and this whole situation work out? Rodgers retires, Rodgers comes back to the Packers, or the Packers trade Rodgers. Matt, 76% of voters say the Packers trade Rodgers. In a perfect world, would be what they'd like to see the most. So this has really, really changed over the last couple of years.
2 out of 3 of those, basically, they want Aaron Rodgers gone. So
yes,
that's basically the bottom line.
Yes, absolutely. 2 of 3 want Aaron Rodgers gone. All right. I wasn't assured that the Wisconsin Badgers, after a really lackluster performance in the Big Ten tournament, would even accept an NIT invitation if given. We basically came to the realization last week before the selection committee determined for us in earnest last night that the Badgers weren't making the March Madness tournament. Matty Ice, you're right. $10 coming your way tonight. Bingo at the Recub. You fill out your bracket. I know I've got my bracket somewhere. You fill out your bracket, you get some bingo on, and I'll give you your $10. But Wisconsin did do something I didn't think they would, Matt. They accepted the invite to the NIT.
I was surprised myself, man. I didn't think they would either.
I figured this as a perennial tournament team and just how bad they played, I figured they just want to pack it in and see the season sort of just come to an end, wrap itself up. Let's just, go back to work.
Unless they're looking at it like a preseason before their next preseason to get because there's some young kids, like you said, there's the Walsey, their senior on the team. So maybe they want some more of a tournament challenge. I can understand that for like a growing thing. But I was with you. I thought they would just say, screw it. Let's just build for next year and everybody pull a North Carolina and say, hey, let's move on for next year.
Well, and the downside for me is this. If you show up really badly in the NIT, and Wisconsin will play Bradley, 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Central time on Wednesday. They'll be playing at the Kohl Center. If Wisconsin loses to Bradley, what will that mean for the program?
Recruiting,
If Wisconsin loses, I don't know, in the NIT, even in the first couple of rounds, what does that mean for the Badgers where the program's at? So I was a little surprised, but if they blow this thing away, if they storm through the NIT, if they win the NIT, the upside could be that, hey, listen, we had a rough Big Ten season. We had a rocky entry into the tournament that didn't happen. We took this call and we said yes.
Something positive towards the next season.
Yeah. Sure. Something positive towards the next season. But they didn't make the big tournament. They didn't make the March Madness tournament. And that's something I think Wisconsin and Wisconsin fans are really used to. And I think they should be. So again, the NIT surprised me a bit. the Wisconsin Badgers normally in the NCAA March Madness tournament, but wouldn't have done anything this year anyways. It wouldn't have mattered really who they played. All right, if you want to get yourself into the throes of the fun of March Madness, a couple of ways to do so. Come and see us at the Recov starting today at 4. I'll be working behind the bar. Well, actually not working behind the bar, but I'll be doing the hosting, the emceeing tonight for our bingo starting at 7. Bar opens at 4. Pick up your bracket, fill it out, write your name, write your phone number there, $10 for your bracket, or go to our Facebook group page. I put it on my Facebook profile, Twitter as well, and sign up to be one of the members in our Run Your Pool March Madness bracket. I think we're taking 15 entries on that. But go down to the bar, get yourself a bracket, fill it out. We can start you as late as, I want to say, Wednesday. The first couple of games don't really matter too much. So we've got you going for I think tomorrow we've got a couple of these games starting. And listen, these are games that you don't necessarily have to pick in order to fill out your bracket. I've done that before where I wait for those first 4 games to play out because then we actually see what the bracket's going to be. But get yourself down to the Recov, corner of 7th and Mississippi, ASAP, fill out your bracket again, $10, or go to our Facebook group page, Twitter, and get yourself into the Run Your Pool March Madness bracket as well. You wanted it, we got it.
I love it. It's going to be a great weekend for sports. It's going to be a great weekend for basketball. Oh yeah, and it starts tomorrow, obviously. So the playing games. And Badgers on Wednesday. All
right, guys and gals, thanks for hanging out with us this morning on the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studio. You want to make some money on this Wisconsin Badger NIT thing or the March Madness bracket in whole, and you don't want to fill out a bracket? Cool too. Go to
check out BetUS as well.
BetUS.com. Use promo code Carnival. We'll see you bright and early in the morning.